June 58th BC. In a muddy field near what's now France, 30,000 exhausted Roman legionaries are marching away from a massive enemy army because they're literally running out of food. Behind them, nearly 100,000 angry Celtic warriors who think the Romans are retreating in terror. The Romans have every disadvantage. Their own allied cavalry is secretly working against them. Their supply lines have been cut. They're 18 miles from the nearest friendly town, and the largest migration in European history, 368,000 people who burned their entire homeland rather than stay, has just decided to hunt them down like wounded prey. The Helvetii confederation isn't just any enemy. These are the same tribes who helped destroy a Roman army 50 years earlier. They've got nothing to lose, everything to gain, and they outnumber the Roman fighting men 3-1. Gallic chieftains are already measuring Caesar for chains. But here's where this story gets absolutely insane. In the next 8 hours, Caesar will turn this disaster into Rome's most brilliant tactical victory. A starving Roman army will destroy the largest armed migration in ancient history. And the retreating legions will end up capturing the children of dead kings while rewriting the rules of European warfare forever. For weeks afterward, crows grew so fat on Celtic flesh they couldn't fly. Roman discipline turned certain death into legendary victory. 20,000 Celtic warriors died while only hundreds of Romans fell. And one afternoon, in a French field, launched the conquest that would create the Roman Empire. By the end of this story, you'll understand how Caesar used fake retreat to lure 100,000 enemies into the perfect kill zone, why Roman javelin tactics made Celtic shields completely useless in under 60 seconds, how one blind tactical gamble with elevation saved the entire Roman army from annihilation, and why this single afternoon battle gave Caesar the wealth, reputation, and veteran legions he needed to eventually cross the Rubicon and destroy the Roman Republic forever. This is Bibracte, where Caesar learned to gamble with history itself. Meet Gaius Julius Caesar in 58 BC, a 42-year-old Roman politician drowning in debt and desperate for military glory. He's got 4 veteran legions and 2 units of green recruits. His mission: govern some peaceful Gallic provinces and try not to go bankrupt. Then 368,000 Swiss people decide to move to France. And Caesar sees dollar signs. The Helvetii aren't just migrating, they're fleeing. Germanic tribes are pressing from the east. Their Alpine homeland feels like a prison, and their dead leader Augetorix had convinced them they could conquer all of Gaul. So they do something insane. They burn every village, every farm, every building. No retreat, no surrender, only forward. Caesar gets word that nearly 400,000 people are on the move. That's like the entire population of modern Miami deciding to walk to Los Angeles with weapons. Roman allies are panicking. The migration could destabilize all of Gaul. But Caesar, he's calculating how much glory and gold this crisis might bring him. The Helvetii ask politely to cross Roman territory. Caesar stalls for 2 weeks, builds massive fortifications, then says no. Why? Because Roman law requires a threat to justify war. By forcing them to take the long route through allied lands, Caesar creates his excuse. The Helvetii have to fight their way through, and Caesar gets to play the hero. Caesar catches the Helvetii crossing the Saône River and massacres a quarter of them in a dawn attack. But instead of celebrating, the survivors do something that chills Roman blood. They send an ambassador named Divico, the same man who defeated Romans 50 years ago. His message? We fight in the open like men, not through trickery. For 2 weeks, Caesar shadows the massive migration. His cavalry skirmishes with theirs. His allied Gallic horsemen, commanded by a chief named Dumnorix, keep losing these encounters. Caesar doesn't realize it yet, but Dumnorix is married to dead Augetorix's daughter. He's playing both sides, and Caesar's walking into a trap. By June 20th, Caesar faces every general's nightmare. His army is starving. While his legions cross the Saône in 1 day, his supply wagons are still struggling behind. His Gallic allies are mysteriously failing to deliver promised food. Caesar has one choice: March to Bibracte, the nearest friendly town, 18 miles away through hostile territory. The moment Caesar turns toward Bibracte, everything changes. Gallic deserters race to the Helvetii with news. The Romans are retreating. Either Caesar's running scared, or he's about to be cut off from supplies completely. For the Helvetii, this looks like divine intervention. Time to finish what Divico started 50 years ago. Caesar's nightmare begins. The Helvetii war machine, thousands of warriors, hundreds of wagons, entire families ready to fight, wheels around and starts hunting the Romans. Caesar's supposed to be the predator here, but suddenly he's prey. His men can hear the war cries echoing across the hills. Time for the most dangerous decision of his career. Here's where Caesar shows why he's Caesar. Instead of panicking, he finds the nearest hill and turns his whole army around to face the enemy. But this isn't a normal deployment. He puts his 4 veteran legions halfway up the slope in the famous triplex aces, 3 lines deep. Shields locked, ready for hell. Caesar's got a problem. His 2 newest legions are green as grass, and this is about to be their first real battle. So he does something brilliant or insane. He stations them at the top of the hill with all the baggage, making the entire mountain look occupied by troops. Psychological warfare at its finest. The Helvetii see exactly what Caesar wants them to see. Romans positioned on high ground, looking confident and ready. But they also see opportunity. These aren't the scattered, retreating legions they expected. This is going to be a proper battle, and the Helvetii have been aching for one since they burned their homeland 3 months ago. Both armies spend precious minutes getting into position. Caesar orders every officer's horse removed from sight. Nobody's retreating today. We win or we die here. The Helvetii form their traditional close-order phalanx, shields locked, spears bristling. 90,000 warriors facing 30,000 Romans. Vegas would not have taken bets on this one. Combat begins in the 7th hour. High noon. The Helvetii advance up the hill in perfect formation, war cries shaking the ground. They look unstoppable, a human avalanche of bronze and iron climbing toward the Roman lines. Caesar's veterans grip their pila and wait for the order. This is it. This is it. At maybe 15 yards, Caesar gives the command. Thousands of heavy Roman javelins arc through the air and slam into the Helvetii advance. Here's where Roman engineering meets Celtic courage, and engineering wins. The pila punch through shields, stick in the wood, and bend on impact. Suddenly, half the Helvetii are fighting with useless shields. The Romans don't wait to see the damage. They drop their remaining pila, draw gladi, and charge downhill with gravity on their side. The Helvetii phalanx, already disrupted by the javelin storm, meets 30,000 screaming Romans coming down the slope like an avalanche. What happens next is pure physics. Celtic warriors start throwing away their shield and javelin combos just to fight effectively. But now they're unprotected against Roman stabbing swords. The 4 veteran legions drive the Helvetii back down the hill, across the valley, toward the distant mountain where their families and wagons wait. It looks like Roman victory is inevitable. Then everything changes. While the Romans are busy chasing fleeing Helvetii across the valley, 15,000 fresh warriors, Boii and Tulingi tribes, slam into the Roman right flank. Suddenly, Caesar's pursuing legions are surrounded, fighting on 2 fronts, with the Helvetii rallying and coming back for more. This is the moment that separates good generals from great ones. Caesar's got his first and second lines fully committed to chasing the Helvetii, enemy reinforcements hitting his flank, and disaster staring him in the face. Lesser men would panic. Caesar pulls his third line out of reserve and wheels them to face the new threat. Now you've got the most insane tactical situation imaginable. 2/3 of Caesar's army is fighting the retreating Helvetii in the valley. 1/3 is fighting fresh enemy reinforcements on the flank. And somewhere in the middle, Roman centurions are screaming orders while trying to coordinate 2 separate battles happening simultaneously. The Helvetii, seeing reinforcements arrive, stop retreating and come back swinging. Suddenly the Romans aren't chasing anybody. They're fighting for their lives against a reformed enemy that outnumbers them 3-1. The battle that looked won 5 minutes ago has become a desperate struggle for survival. For hours, the fighting rages across the valley and up the slopes. Romans advance, fall back, advance again. Helvetii charge, get repulsed, charge again. Neither side gives ground permanently. The sound of clashing metal echoes for miles. This is what ancient warfare really looked like: exhausting, bloody, and utterly chaotic. As the sun starts to set, both armies are exhausted. But the Helvetii have one last card to play: their wagon fort. They've arranged hundreds of wagons into a makeshift fortress around their baggage train, with women and children throwing rocks and spears from the high ground. It's going to be a siege. Roman legionaries, already fighting since noon, have to assault an improvised fortress while Helvetii warriors dart in and out from between wagon wheels, stabbing with spears and firing arrows from cover. Some Romans are getting killed by old women with kitchen knives. This is turning into every soldier's nightmare, but Roman discipline and training finally start to tell. Legionaries work in teams, using shields to cover each other while prying apart the wagon defenses. Centurions coordinate small unit tactics. What the Helvetii have in desperation, the Romans match with methodology and superior equipment. As full darkness falls, the Romans finally break into the wagon circle. Inside, they find the prizes that make this whole campaign worthwhile: Orgetrix's children, the daughter and son of the dead conspirator who started this whole migration. It's symbolic and practical. The Helvetii rebellion dies with the capture of their royal family. Caesar claims 130,000 Helvetii escaped into the night, but only 110,000 made it home. That's nearly 20,000 casualties in a single day, plus all their supplies, weapons, and wagons captured. Meanwhile, Roman losses are minimal, maybe a few hundred dead. The numbers are so lopsided, they sound made up. For 3 days, Caesar rests his army and buries the dead. The Helvetii, meanwhile, reach the territory of the Lingones and beg for sanctuary. Caesar sends a simple message to the Lingones: help them and you're next. The message works. After traveling 300 miles and fighting for months, the Helvetii finally surrender. Caesar's terms are harsh but smart. The Helvetii must return to their burned homeland and rebuild everything they destroyed. Why? Because empty Swiss territory would invite Germanic invasion right next to Roman provinces. Better to have friendly Celts as neighbors than hostile Germans. It's realpolitik at its finest. But here's the kicker. Caesar finds a census document in the Helvetii camp, written in Greek letters, listing every person in the migration. 368,000 people started this journey. Only 110,000 returned home. That's a 70% casualty rate for an entire civilization. It's demographic catastrophe on an almost unimaginable scale. The surviving Helvetii pack up their few remaining possessions and begin the long walk back to Switzerland. They'll spend years rebuilding everything they burned in their moment of revolutionary enthusiasm. Their children will grow up hearing stories about the great migration that almost conquered Gaul, and the Roman who stopped it. Caesar, meanwhile, just solved his debt crisis and launched his political career. The gold and slaves from this campaign will fund his rise to power. The veteran legions who fought at Bibracte will follow him across the Rubicon, and his reputation for impossible victories will terrify enemies across 3 continents. But there's a darker lesson here. The Helvetii burned their homes because they thought victory was inevitable. They committed everything to a plan that seemed foolproof. One bad day at Bibracte, and an entire people paid the price for their leader's ambition. History is littered with sure things that went catastrophically wrong. Word of Caesar's victory spreads across Gaul like wildfire. Tribal leaders who were secretly supporting the Helvetii suddenly become Rome's best friends. Germanic chieftains who were planning their own invasions decide to stay east of the Rhine. One battle has reshuffled the entire balance of power in Western Europe. Meanwhile, in Rome, senators who thought Caesar was safely exiled to minor provincial duties suddenly realize they've created a monster. The nobody politician who left the city drowning in debt just conquered a nation and earned enough gold to buy armies. The Republic's days are numbered, and it started here. For Caesar personally, Bibracte proves he can win impossible victories through pure tactical brilliance. He'll use the same formula again and again. Accept terrible odds, find the perfect battlefield position, trust his veteran legions, and gamble everything on a single decisive moment. It's a strategy that will conquer most of the known world. The Helvetii migration becomes a cautionary tale across the ancient world. You can burn your bridges, commit to total war, and still lose everything if you meet the wrong enemy on the wrong day. Desperation and determination aren't enough. You need skill, luck, and the right opponent. The Helvetii had everything except the last two. Archaeological evidence still backs up Caesar's account. Excavations near Bibracte have found Roman fortifications, Celtic weapons, and mass burial sites. The census document listing 368,000 migrants. Probably propaganda. But the battle itself, the tactics, the casualties, those happened exactly as Caesar described. Sometimes the truth really is stranger than fiction. As winter approaches, both armies settle into their new realities. The Romans will winter in friendly territory, planning next year's campaigns. The Helvetii will huddle in their rebuilt villages, trying to forget their dreams of empire. And across Gaul, every tribal chief is asking the same question. If Caesar can destroy the Helvetii, who's next? Fast forward 50 years. Caesar is dead, murdered in the Roman Senate. But the empire he built from victories like Bibracte controls everything from Britain to Egypt. The Helvetii are peaceful Roman allies, their warrior culture replaced by Roman law and Latin schools. The migration that was supposed to conquer Gaul barely rates a footnote in Roman histories. Here's the insane part. Caesar's account of this battle, written as wartime propaganda, becomes one of the most studied military texts in history. Napoleon read it. Patton quoted it. Modern staff colleges still teach Caesar's tactics. A campaign that started as debt relief became a masterclass in military leadership. The real winner at Bibracte wasn't Caesar or Rome. It was the concept of professional military organization. The Helvetii fought with courage, numbers, and desperation. The Romans won with training, discipline, and superior logistics. It's the same lesson every military revolution teaches. Amateurs study tactics, professionals study logistics. Modern historians estimate the actual Helvetii migration at maybe 50,000 people, not 368,000. Caesar inflated the numbers to make his victory look more impressive. But even 50,000 migrants would have been the largest armed movement in European history. The scale might be exaggerated, but the achievement is still incredible. The Battle of Bibracte established the template for European warfare for the next 500 years. Disciplined infantry, flexible tactics, and professional command structure beat tribal courage every time. It's the same formula that will let Romans conquer Britain, Egypt, and Germania. One afternoon in Gaul rewrote the rules of civilization. Today, you can visit the battlefield near Autun, France. There's a museum, walking trails, and guided tours. Tourists from around the world come to see where Caesar learned to be Caesar. The Helvetii migration that was supposed to change history becomes a footnote, while the man who stopped it becomes immortal. The ultimate irony? The Helvetii burned their homeland to prevent retreat and ensure total commitment. Caesar used their own desperation against them, turning their greatest strength into a fatal weakness. Sometimes the thing that makes you most dangerous is also the thing that destroys you. History is full of such paradoxes. So here's what Bibracte really teaches us. Talent plus opportunity plus ruthless calculation can overcome any odds. Caesar wasn't lucky, he was prepared when luck arrived. The Helvetii weren't cowards. They just met someone who understood warfare better than they did. And sometimes that's all the difference in the world.